I want to bring in our lead producer Tyler Wojak. Tyler, how you doing, man?
I'm hanging in. I'm not gonna lie. Tough start for my Irish this year, 0-2, but that actually leads us to our very first question, unfortunately. This one comes from Sports Ball Company. Is Ohio State's win over Notre Dame no longer a quality win?
Man, that's tough, right? Because as many of you know, Marshall absolutely took Notre Dame to the woodshed, had a tailback rush for over 160 yards. Henry Colombi running the Thundering Herd for them, actually got ran out from Texas Tech to Marshall. Shout out to Charles Huff, who got the first top 10 victory for Marshall since like the last top 10 victory was like 2003, number 6 Kansas State. It's been that long ago. And remember, it wasn't that long ago that Marshall was an FCS program, let alone one that is absolutely running the Sun Belt. Sun Belt's so much fun and just such a tough league this year. So we saw 3 Sun Belt teams get wins against, well, teams they probably shouldn't have beat. Georgia Southern, Nebraska, and of course, Appalachian State, Texas A&M. I am inclined to think, though, that Ohio State's trials against Notre Dame speak more highly to how good Notre Dame can be. Now, I also wonder, and this is where I kind of get into it with Tyler on this, did Notre Dame do the Tom Herman? For those of you that don't know, the Tom Herman is when you sell out to try to beat the best team on your schedule, and then you go into the tank because you're beat up, you're hurt, and you're frankly dejected. So they did this against 2019 LSU. It was a 7-point ball game. Texas lost that on the 40 acres, didn't come back from it. It feels now like Notre Dame is on the same trajectory with a first-year head coach. Tyler, I'm really interested, as you know, you are our resident Notre Dame insider and alumnus. Do you think that Ohio State's win against Notre Dame just a little bit overrated?
Well, a little bit more overrated than we thought the night of, for sure. But I will say, as bad as things are for Notre Dame right now, and don't get it twisted, it's bad. It is bleak. No one has ever confused me as like a beacon of optimism, and I will shoot you straight here. It is really, really bad in South Bend right now. However, I will say it is still a quality win for Ohio State because defensively, Notre Dame is still pretty strong. I know that they lost to Marshall, but that was more due to the fact that the offense is completely inept right now. Defensively, Notre Dame still has some dudes, and Ohio State was able to score enough to win without Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's, I would think, their best player on offense, as well as Julian Fleming, another top wide receiver. And maybe even bigger than that, they were able to answer a lot of questions that, you know, surrounded that team in the offseason, especially after that Michigan game. Is Ohio State tough enough? And I think they proved that, especially at the end of that game on that 14-play drive, where they just sort of imposed their will on Notre Dame's defense. And that alone, you know, it was a top 5 matchup at the time, certainly isn't now, and it's not going to be looked at the same way the rest of the season. But I think inside that locker room, Ohio State was able to answer a lot of questions about themselves and prove some people wrong. And in that sense, especially when you consider the context too, like LeBron James was on the sideline, Joe Burrow, it was the first game of the season. All that taken into account, I do think it is still a quality win for Ohio State, just not as much as they probably thought 10 days ago.
Jason Tatum was wearing a signed jersey from someone, and I remember looking at that going, why are you doing that? There is a special place in hell for people that wear signed jerseys to games. I just don't know about what that circle is, but it really got under my skin because that was supposed to be, I don't know, on a plaque or maybe raised up in somebody's rafters in their living room. But you're right. Like, there was a lot going on for that game. Everybody who was anybody related to Ohio State wanted to come out and see that game. And to your point, like the one that I would take there is that, yes, Ohio State was able to impose their will toward the end of the game, run the ball with some authority, which is not, frankly, what I expect from a Ryan Day offense, even though they do run the football and they need to run the football. I did not expect them to be able to do that against anybody, honestly. I thought they were just going to keep throwing it, not unlike, you know, the Denver Broncos against the Seattle Seahawks, but that's something else entirely. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.